Believe it or not, the biggest lie in rap music isn't about who's the hardest or who runs which city, it's about who's actually getting paid. While rappers compete to see who can look the most successful on social media, behind the scenes they're playing an elaborate game of financial make-believe that would be hilarious if it wasn't so tragic. In fact, the same artists posting motivational quotes about securing the bag are often one missed payment away from having their cars repossessed. Social media has turned the music industry into professional wrestling, where everyone's playing a character and the storylines are completely scripted. In this episode of How to Rap, we're breaking down why your favorite rapper is lying to you about success and how you can go professional and avoid their mistakes. Now, before we expose this whole game, if you're an artist trying to build real sustainable wealth in this industry, click the first link in the description for our 6-week amateur to full-time artist course, Rap Tycoon. You see, while everyone else is chasing fake chains and rented cars, we'll show you how to build actual revenue streams that don't involve selling your soul to a label. So that first link hooks you up with exclusive strategies not covered in this video, so definitely check it out if you're serious about getting this professional bread the smart way. Let's start with the most brutal truth in the game right now. Streaming money is a damn joke. Every rapper posting screenshots of their Spotify stats wants you to think they're eating good, but here's the actual math that'll make your stomach turn. Spotify pays between $0.003 and $0.005 per stream. That's less than half a penny per play. So, when your favorite underground rapper brags about hitting 1 million streams, they made between $3,000 and $5,000 before taxes, before the label takes their cut, before management gets their 20%. To make minimum wage for just 1 month at $15 an hour, you need 2.4 million streams. That's more plays than most rappers get in their entire career. The streaming platforms keep 30% right off the top, then the remaining 70% goes to rights holders. If you think that means the artist, you're living in a fantasy world most rappers desperately want you to believe. Let me break down what actually happens to that streaming money. If you're signed to a 360 deal, which we'll get into later, the label's taking their chunk first, then your manager gets 20%, then Uncle Sam wants his 30 to 40% in taxes. By the time all these vultures get their beaks wet, that million stream milestone that seems so impressive leaves the artist with maybe $1,000 if they're lucky. Even established cats are reportedly pulling in around $13,000 monthly from all their streams combined. That sounds decent until you realize that's before everyone takes their cut. After the label, management, and taxes, they're probably taking home $4,000 to $5,000 a month. Your orthodontist makes more than that. Shoot, your high school principal probably clears more than most rappers you listen to. Crazy, but it's true. Now let's look at the top of the food chain. Drake pulled in $331 million from 82.8 billion streams over his entire career. That sounds massive until you break it down. That's over more than a decade of being the most streamed artist on the platform. Divide that by 10 plus years, factor in his massive team, overhead, and taxes, and suddenly it's not the infinite money glitch everyone pretends it is. The sickest part is most rappers can't even tell you these numbers because they don't own their masters. They get whatever crumbs the label decides to throw them after recoupment. Most artists have no idea what they're actually earning because the accounting is deliberately opaque. Labels send statements that would confuse a forensic accountant, filled with deductions and fees that eat away at already microscopic payments. So rappers turn to touring, thinking that's where the real money lives, except that's an even bigger lie. But here's where it gets even more twisted. Rappers think they can escape this streaming hell through live shows, but what we're about to show you about tour economics will make those streaming pennies look generous. That 20-city tour your favorite rapper just announced is probably going to leave them broker than before they started. First, the venue takes their cut, either a flat fee or a percentage of ticket sales. Then the promoter who organized the whole thing needs their piece. We haven't even talked about expenses yet. Transportation alone will murder your profit margins. Flights for you and your crew, bus rentals, gas, tolls, parking. A tour bus runs about $5,000 per week, and that's before you put a single gallon of diesel in it. Then there's hotels. Even modest accommodations for a 10-person crew runs $2,000 per night. 20 cities means 20 nights minimum, so there's $40,000 just on beds. Don't forget, you need to pay your tour manager, sound engineer, lighting tech, and security. These professionals don't work for exposure. They want cash daily, plus per diems for food. Your sound engineer alone costs $500 to $1,000 per show. After all expenses get paid, your manager still takes their 10 to 20% cut of whatever's left. Let's run the actual numbers on a mid-sized venue show. Tickets sell for $50, venue holds 2,000 people, you sell it out, that's $100,000 gross. Sounds great until you do the math. Venue takes 30%, that's $30,000 gone. Promoter takes 20%, another $20,000 vanished. Now you're down to $50,000. Subtract $10,000 for production costs, $5,000 for travel and hotels, $3,000 for crew payments. You're left with $32,000. Your manager takes 20% of that, $6,400. After a full night of performing, dealing with fans, and sleeping on a moving bus, you cleared $25,600 if you're lucky. Many shows don't sell out. Bad weather, competing events, or weak promotion can leave you playing to half-empty venues. Now that $100,000 gross becomes $50,000, but your expenses stay the same. Suddenly you're losing money just to perform. Some bands literally lose money on entire tours because expenses eat up everything. That's why rappers cancel dates claiming exhaustion. Sometimes it's cheaper to stay home than to perform at a loss. Artists take out loans just to afford touring, hoping future profits will cover current losses. The worst part happens when you realize that tour money might be the only real income you see all year. Streaming pays nothing, album sales are dead, and now touring barely breaks even. But wait, it gets worse. If you're signed to a modern record deal, the label wants a piece of that tour money too. Labels learned this game decades ago, which is why they created a new type of contract that lets them eat off literally every dollar you make. These 360 deals change the entire economics of being a rapper, turning what used to be your safety net into another revenue stream for the label to exploit. And just when you think losing money on tour is as bad as it gets, there's a contract clause that most rappers sign without reading that makes the label a partner in every single dollar they'll ever make for the rest of their lives. The 360 deal is the music industry's greatest finesse. Labels convinced artists to give up a percentage of literally everything, not just album sales like the old days. Now they want 40% of your touring money, 20% of merchandise sales, 5 to 20% of endorsement deals. They'll take a cut of your acting money if you land a movie role. Some deals even include percentages of your YouTube ad revenue. But here's the real poison pill. Everything the label spends is recoupable, meaning it's a loan you have to pay back. That $1 million advance sounds life-changing until you realize it's not a gift. Studio time at $2,000 per day, recoupable. Music video that costs $200,000, recoupable. Marketing campaign, recoupable. Even the celebratory dinner they took you to after signing, probably recoupable. Let me paint you a picture of how this plays out. Young rapper signs a $1 million deal, thinks he made it. Label spends $200,000 on his album, $300,000 on videos, $200,000 on marketing. That's $700,000 in recoupable expenses already. Now he owes the label $1.7 million before he sees another penny. His album needs to generate millions in revenue just to break even. Meanwhile, the label's taking 40% of his tour money, which was supposed to be a safety net. They're taking 20% of his merch sales at those same shows. If he gets lucky and lands a sneaker deal, they want 15% of that too. Every Instagram post, every club appearance, every feature verse, the label gets their cut. The artist becomes a revenue-generating machine where the label profits from every move they make while the rapper stays in debt. It's modern-day sharecropping with a recording studio instead of a cotton field. Most rappers stay trapped in these deals for their entire careers, never recouping that initial debt. They release album after album, tour year after year, and still owe money. The label keeps extending the contract, adding more debt, creating an inescapable cycle. They become walking billboards for a lifestyle they can't actually afford. The pressure to maintain appearances while drowning in debt creates a vicious cycle. They can't admit they're broke because their entire brand depends on looking successful. Fans don't want to support struggling artists, they want to associate with winners. So rappers find creative ways to fake the lifestyle their fans expect. This desperation leads to the most pathetic part of the whole game: the elaborate schemes rappers use to look rich when they're actually living paycheck to paycheck. The fake flexing has become so sophisticated it's practically an art form, from rented jewelry to borrowed cars to staged photo shoots. The lengths these artists go to maintain their image would be impressive if it wasn't so sad. Now here's the sickest part. Knowing all this financial devastation exists, rappers have created an entire industry built around one thing: convincing you they're rich when they can barely afford groceries. How broke rappers manage to look rich is an art form perfected over decades of hip-hop culture. The formula starts with hidden investors, wealthy individuals who want to be part of the music industry's cool factor. These shadow bankrollers fund the image in exchange for being associated with the artist's success. They'll front money for jewelry rentals, car leases, and video shoots. Next comes the rental game, hip-hop's worst-kept secret. That Lamborghini in the music video costs $2,500 to $5,000 per day to rent. The Ferrari they drove to the club probably went back to the exotic car rental lot the next morning. Even the mansions in their videos are usually Airbnb rentals costing hundreds per night. Jewelry tells the same story. Those massive chains that would cost six figures to buy rent for a few thousand per day. Some jewelers loan pieces to rappers just for the promotional value. Multiple rappers have been exposed when their ice failed basic diamond testing on camera, revealing cubic zirconia instead of real diamonds. Then there's the advance money smokescreen. When rappers throw money in videos or at clubs, that's often their label advance. Money they'll have to pay back with interest. They're literally throwing away their future earnings to maintain an image today. Social media amplifies the deception. They'll rent a private jet for an hour just to take photos, then fly commercial to their actual destination. Stack all their cash for one photo, making $5,000 look like $50,000. Post old pictures from better times, pretending they're current. The pressure to maintain this illusion drives rappers deeper into debt until bankruptcy becomes inevitable. The graveyard of supposedly rich rappers tells the real story of hip-hop wealth. DMX owed millions when the IRS raided his home and auctioned everything. Lil' Kim filed bankruptcy owing $4 million, including $1.8 million in taxes. Young Buck had 22 creditors claiming $11.5 million. MC Hammer generated $33 million at his peak, but filed for bankruptcy with $13 million in debt by 1996. The same pattern repeats across generations: massive success followed by complete financial collapse. What makes these collapses predictable is the combination of financial ignorance and image pressure. Rappers grow up in environments where financial literacy isn't taught, then suddenly receive massive checks with no understanding of taxes, investments, or budgeting. They trust managers who steal from them, make impulsive purchases, support entire neighborhoods. The real tragedy happens when you compare rapper income to regular professions. Your average orthodontist makes $200,000 per year with job security and benefits. A successful plumber can clear $150,000 annually without owing a label millions. These careers create actual wealth instead of elaborate mirages. So here's the wake-up call nobody wants to hear. That rapper you idolize probably has less money in the bank than your local restaurant owner. The chains are rented, the cars are leased, and the lifestyle is financed by debt they'll never escape. So there you have it, the brutal mathematics of modern rap money. Thanks for joining us for another episode of How to Rap. Until next time, stay smart, stay independent, and keep it real. Peace.